Well, movement is life, for sure. Coordination is important as a child. It's amazing to me how many kids don't skip anymore. I mean, I used to skip everywhere. And a lot of kids don't skip because they're on their phones or they're doing things electronically. And it's working that side of the brain, that other side of the brain. We are concentrating on the STAR test or whatever standardized test, and we're working on 2 times 2 is 4 and all of that. But what's the artistic side doing? What's the creative side doing?
Hi, welcome. My name is Lisa Hollenbach. I'm the Senior Digital Manager here at EdPost. And today I'm happy to be here with Lauren Anderson. She's a former prima ballerina and one of the first African-American women to dance a principal role with a major company. She's also the Associate Director of Education and Community Engagement at Houston Ballet, the country's 4th largest ballet company, which hosts an extraordinary program that demonstrates what it looks like when students have an opportunity to learn, especially in the arts. So thank you for being here today, Lauren. I'm so excited for our conversation today. I've been looking forward to it for a few weeks now. So why don't you take a moment to tell us your story and tell us a little bit about the path that led you to where you are today.
Okay, well, first, I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me. I started dancing in 1972 at the age of 7 at the Houston Ballet Academy. I did not start dancing because I wanted to dance. I started dancing because my father decided, I have an overactive 7-year-old. Maybe ballet would be good for her. And so I started lessons and I kept taking dance until I graduated from high school. I auditioned for the Houston Ballet and I got in and danced every classical role in every classical ballet and some contemporary ballets also. And in 1990, became the first Black principal dancer at the Houston Ballet, and then went on to retire and walk across the hall into education. And now I'm the Associate Director of Education and Community Engagement.
Wow.
I know that was a very quick kind of 5, 6, 7, 8, but yeah.
So you didn't actually want to dance. It was something that your parents, put in front of you as more of a whole child kind of education. They wanted you to be well-rounded.
Yeah, I was very fortunate. My father was the first assistant principal of the High School for the Performing and Visual Arts here in Houston. And he knew, of course, how important arts education is, along with the other, with all the education. Let's educate the complete child. And, I'd say my parents exposed me to music, dance, opera, theater. I was very fortunate because I know that's not the case for everyone. Of course, there's Miller Theater here in Houston, and Miller Theater offers free art performance, free theatrical, performances here in Houston. That was one of the first experiences I had at the theater, was at Miller Theater. And then, of course, my parents taking me to the opera or to the ballet or something like that. So
Right.
They enrolled me in classes, and it stuck.
Nice. You're right. Many kids don't have the opportunity to see that type of as young children. They often don't see it until they're in their later years or even as an adult. Many don't see a ballet or an opera or something like that. So some kids are really fortunate. So in your outreach, what kind of outreach do you do at Houston Ballet?
Well, it's awesome. I am very fortunate to be at a ballet company that offers 85% of its programming free. So in the community engagement department, we go into schools, we go into the community, we also educate all of our patrons, the ones that come to the ballet. We have ballet talks, dance talks, actually. And then we have on-site programming. So, wow, what does that look like? It's 19 programs reaching most of the elementary schools, especially in the surrounding area, in all of the ISDs. It looks like reaching over 160,000 students a year. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot, but I have a mighty wonderful team of about 10 teaching artists and admin. So it's fulfilling and absolutely necessary.
You said more than 160,000 students a year.
Yeah, and I'm really bad right now because I don't know what that total is, to be honest, but I know that we've at least reached 160,000 this year.
That's so many for 10 teaching artists to
Well, I mean, it happens in many ways, right? I mean, it happens virtually. We have student matinees at the Wortham Center right across the way. So that's 2,400 right there. We have teacher workshops and guest speaking and career days where you might see 400 kids in one day, right? I mean, then there's that. And then our programming is all year. So we also have programs that are happening in the summer. So we'll probably reach another 150 so kids just in the summer of minimal programming, actually. Yeah.
So you've been doing this work your whole life, dance, and it's something I'm sure at this point is so near and dear to your heart. Why would you say that arts education and specifically dance is important to that whole child education?
Well, movement is life, for sure. Coordination is important as a child. It's amazing to me how many kids don't skip anymore. I mean, I used to skip everywhere. And a lot of kids don't skip because they're on their phones or they're doing things electronically. And it's working that side of the brain, that other side of the brain. We are concentrating on the STAR test or whatever standardized test. And we're working on 2 times 2 is 4 and all of that. But what's the artistic side doing? What's the creative side doing? So I think like I said before, it's educating the complete child. It's exercising both sides of the brain. The brain is a muscle and it needs to be exercised also. But the entire brain, not just one side, right? And yeah, I think personally that arts, it's not a privilege, it's a right. It's like you have a right to education. You have a right to art education also. Movement is important. When you stop moving, you stop using muscles. They deteriorate. So, yeah.
I remember being a kid and loving the days when we could do some type of art or dance or movement.
Of course.
And when I was a kid, I did dance and I left it to do sports. And I always regretted that. I always regretted leaving, as later in life. And later in my life, found my way back to theater. And so it's something that I think when it leaves your life, you miss it. And,
Right.
I'm so glad that I found my way back there. So it is something that I think if you love it, you'll find your way back there. And it's something that if you're not doing it, it's missing. Something is missing. You're not nurturing that part of your brain.
Sure. I remember as a student thinking how much, and I'm a little competitive, and I would compete with the boys on my street. I would run against, I was a skateboarder, I was a tree climber, I was a runner, I was all those things. And because I was a dancer, I was better than some of the boys, right? I know. Who would have thought that? But yeah, there's athletes that like to take dance for coordination and all that. So there's many benefits.
Absolutely. So we want to dig into one program in particular that you have at Houston Ballet, and that is the Chance to Dance. So
that's my favorite program at Houston Ballet, Chance to Dance, actually.
Wonderful. So tell us a little bit about Chance to Dance. What is this program?
Okay, so Chance to Dance is, it's beginning ballet classes for first and second graders, boys and girls, whether you've had a class or not, have whatever your physical ability is, you're able to take this class. And it's very simple, basic beginning class. It's 8 dance classes. Actually, it's 7 dance classes, but there's 8 classes, but 7 dance classes. And it culminates in children getting scholarships. And I'd say, so what's great about this program is we pay for busing. So the school pays for absolutely nothing. The kids can wear whatever they wore to school. So they don't have to buy dance clothes or dance shoes or anything like that. They hop on a bus and they come to the Margaret Alkeck Williams Houston Ballet Center for Dance, and they take a ballet class, a 1-hour ballet class, and they hop back on that bus and they go back to school. And that happens for 7 weeks. And then the 8th week, one of the principals of the lower school or one of our other teachers, because if the teacher that's teaching the class had the choice, she would give 25 scholarships. Right? You'd get a lot of them. So we like to have two eyes on it. And we evaluate the students, and the most promising are offered full merit scholarships in the Houston Ballet Academy. And what's amazing is for the first year, we've had our first student from Chance to Dance become a professional dancer. So I know, it makes me cry. It's been awesome because I mean, we have testimonies from students saying how it's changed their lives. They know that they can be successful at anything. They've gone on to either be dancers or not, but they've been successful at whatever it is they were trying to do. And we've gotten letters, and it's just, they're proud of themselves, and that's life-changing, right?
It's almost like you anticipated some of my questions coming forward. I did want to know if you had any prodigies that became professional dancers already, or who were on that trajectory, that this meant so much to them, that this was their thing, moving forward. It's so fun to hear that there's at least one that is making their way.
Well, we hit our first. That's not to say it's the last. What's great is we found a way to retain the students, because in the beginning, we'd offer scholarships and they'd stop after a couple of years.
Right.
Now we have found a way to keep them interested and feeling like this place is for them also, right? Because that's a lot of it. And we have a boys program. So when we get boys, we put them in the boys program, because boys need to be taught by men. I mean, they can be taught ballet by women, but I think it's important for boys. I mean, representation's everything, right? So if you've got someone that looks like you and can relate to you, you're more likely to stick around. And then we've got some middle schoolers now, because generally that's the age that they stop. But that's kind of the fall off with anybody that takes dance. Like, there's a lot in our young classes, in our elementary classes, and not so many in our older classes, because there's point shoes involved. So when you get on point, it feels totally different than it does on demi point, and in the flat shoes. And generally, that's where people. I mean, that separates. I always say what do you say? The girls from the boys? No, it's like the men from the boys or the women from the girls, or I don't know. Anyway, when children go on and get their point shoes, which every ballerina wants point shoes.
Oh, it's the moment.
Right? You get them and then you put them on and you're like, oh, this hurts. Yeah. But it's nice to have as many chance dance students still in the school and getting into the upper school, because now I see them realizing that this art form is for them.
That's so wonderful. Now, not every school can participate every year, right? How do you choose which school can participate, and how do the schools then choose which students get to participate?
Okay, so we target 75% or more economically disadvantaged schools. And there are most of HISD is economically disadvantaged. We have 3, 6, 9. We have 9 schools a year, 3 per semester. Well, 3 in the fall and 6 in the spring, because the spring is a little bit longer semester and it's divided by spring break. So we have 3 before spring break and 3 after spring break. Now, the issue here is studio space. So we have the class from 3 to 4, because that's before all the other classes happen at the Houston Ballet Academy. Also, it's kind of like an after-school program for the school. So we want the children to be able to come to the class. And generally the classes start around 4 o'clock. So if they're too far outside of Beltway 8 or the Loop, they're not going to make it in to take the class. So we want this to be a successful program. So we target students in the surrounding area. And we try to hop around HISD, and we say we generally don't go back to school until 3 or 4 years later. Yeah.
Right.
Now, how the school picks the students, that's not up to us. We give them a cap of 25 students. And if so, and I give them a suggestion that if you have 6 first grade classes and 6 second grade classes, just do 2 from each class. Or if it's in the spring, they use it as an incentive, like who has the best attendance or something like that. They do like an incentive type, incentivized choices or whatever. They do something like that. But the school, it's not up to us to decide who comes. We just pick the school. The school picks the student.
So how old is this program? How long have you been doing Chance to Dance?
So under the name Chance to Dance, it has been 16 years. Let me think. Wait. Wow. My son is 20. So, okay, yes, it's under the name Chance to Dance. It's been about 16 years. Before that, it was called Talent Search. And I was still dancing. I wasn't in the department. And I can't really say how long that's been, but I know it was easily 5 or 6 years. When we started the department, when it became a full-blown department, I thought Talent Search said something different than what the program actually does, because it's not just a talent search. We have auditions. That's how we search for talent. This program really gives students a chance to dance. So that's how I came up with that name.
And I thought it was a telling name too, because otherwise the kids that you're targeting in this program may never have the chance to learn ballet.
Absolutely.
And,
Absolutely.
The program is doing exactly what it says it's doing. It's, giving kids an opportunity that they might not otherwise have.
That's right.
And it's just so fantastic. And I imagine with all of those years that you've had this program, you've probably collected all the data that could tell us, what kind of a difference is this program making in the lives of kids around the ballet?
Well, I'll say that we've definitely found that when they have the Chance to Dance program, those children are more likely to go to school on that day. Mm-hmm. So it's enhancing attendance. Also, I see kids that start with the body language of not feeling comfortable, that by the end of it, and we take pictures of them at the end, and they've got their heads held high, they've got their certificates, they've found a place of comfort in their own skin. There's a confidence that they did not walk in the door with. And that's amazing. That's amazing for me. And the teamwork, because there's so many things. So in this class, they not only develop discipline and teamwork and being able to follow directions, but they realize there's a lot of social emotional learning. They realize that their actions affect the rest of the class, and spatial awareness and social. There's so many things that they learn in this class. And so it's good to see them grasp all of the goals that I have put in the curriculum that need to be reached by the last class.
And that's such a great feeling to see something light up the children that are there and to watch them grow in that way into these confident little people by the time that it's through, where you literally see them stand up tall by the end of the course, and it's just so satisfying to see.
And I've also heard from teachers that those students are leaders in their class, which has been great because we get testimonials from some of the teachers, and it's great to know that they're leaders in their class. That's huge.
Something to be said for giving them an opportunity to come out and engage with people in the community, and getting away from just their school, just their communities, in a way that it's accessible to them. Everything's they don't have to buy anything, they don't have to look for transportation, they just get to come out, and they're delivered to a program that is going to give them all of these benefits, and they interact with people who they might not otherwise, in a place that they might not otherwise be able to see. And it's just quite an experience to be able to take that back to their classroom. I'd imagine that has a lot to do with how they're becoming little leaders already at first and second grade. And I have this picture in my head of these tiny children that have all of this renewed confidence walking back into their classrooms, feeling just so great about themselves with their new skill. And it's so happy. And now I'm gonna take that happiness and I'm just gonna put it aside for 1 second and ask you a different question, because you mentioned SEL. And we have these strange culture wars that have been happening in education for the last couple of years on the political spectrum, that have been targeting mostly what they're calling CRT, or cultural race theory. But as a part of that package, they've slapped on SEL as a part of that. But historically, arts have been something that have been attacked as ways to cut budgets and remove things from school. And while this program is free, I'm thinking, has anybody ever turned down opportunities to participate because this is an arts program, or has anybody had any pushback to the program or kids participating in the program for those political reasons as a part of those cultural wars, or have you managed to escape that?
I can say that we've managed to escape that, especially with the Chance to Dance program. In the beginning, principals' outcomes for different schools have been different. And since we've covered over a decade, it has changed. I will tell you, 16 years ago, the only way we figured out that we can do this is if we paid for the buses. That's how we knew it. That's kind of more of a buy-in. The school doesn't have to pay for buses, right? But some of our other programming, it was hard to get it in the schools because the principals didn't necessarily see the benefits. So we went with the TEKS, the Texas Educational Knowledge Skills, and looked at the TEKS that were covered if your students participated in this. And that's the guide that every school and every teacher goes by. So we weeded that to the surface. Definitely weeding SEL to the surface in the past decade has been a big factor to our programs because it's embedded in every one of our programs. You cover any arts class, any from music to acting to dancing to singing to theater, whatever. There's SEL embedded. It's just embedded in the arts. I don't know how good or how well socially your child is going to be if all they do is math and science and reading and English all day and don't have a moment to be creative, don't have a moment that's theirs to go outside and play and run and jump and draw. And I mean, I just don't, that's going to be a problem. That's going to be a problem adult, actually.
Just being in sharing space with other kids.
With other kids, the whole thing. Thing.
And the interesting piece about that is while the political rhetoric is talking about SEL as a bad thing or talking, about all of these pieces as bad things, most parents want that type of education for their kids. Most parents are in favor of that type of education and these skills for their kids. So it doesn't match. The rhetoric doesn't match what parents actually want. So it's really interesting when you look at parent responses versus what we're hearing in the political spectrum and what the rest of us have to deal with because of it.
In the end, it does not bode well for society.
Exactly.
For sure.
And, especially because, things have been rough in Texas politically. So being in Houston and a program remaining untouched, that's fantastic. But it's so good. And I think about, again, I'm going to bring back my happy thoughts of the lit up little faces as they go back into their classrooms. And you said at the end, many of the students who show promise get scholarships from this program. What does that year-round program look like then once the student has the merit scholarship and they're accepted into the full year program? What do they experience in that program?
Well, they come to the Houston Ballet Center for Dance. They get a uniform that's theirs. And what's really neat is we buy the first uniform. We provide them with the first uniform: shoes, tights, leotard for the girls, shorts, t-shirt, socks, and shoes for the boys. They come once or twice a week that starts in August and goes or September and goes all the way through around until the end of the summer, until August. And that's a full year. In that year, they have an opportunity to be in the Nutcracker. They have an opportunity to perform in other performances that we do that have kids. Right? And then they also have their own performance in May. Not like a graduation performance or a recital. It's an actual performance. Yeah, that they have in May. And then they have a summer intensive that they can participate in. And then they graduate to the next level and we renew their scholarship. The way they keep their scholarship, because they can have their scholarship until they graduate from high school. The way they keep it is by coming. Attendance is very important. And then just general improvement and a good attitude.
Wow.
Behave. I mean, we know they're kids. But yeah. Right. I mean, they don't have to do anything but really mostly attendance. Because if you're there, you're going to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, I was scrolling through Instagram and I saw some children were in, I think was it Romeo and Juliet? Would they be the same kids? Mm-hmm.
There's kids in Romeo and Juliet. Our Chance to Dance kids become academy students. We track them as Chance to Dance kids, but they're academy students. They're just like the rest of the academy. And that's and we are just here to integrate them into the rest of the academy as if they were paying whatever they pay in the academy.
Nice. So I know you said you had one student that has become a professional dancer, but do you have any other special success stories that you can share? Maybe not necessarily professional dancers, but some moments that maybe you've collected along the way that were special bright spots in either Chance to Dance or in the academy for these kids that really show how great the work is you're doing in this program at Houston Ballet.
I have a few that have gone off to college, and I've gotten a chance to write some recommendation letters. I haven't gone off to Ivy League colleges. Some pretty impressive colleges. They're smart. They're all smart. It's amazing. I always say to them, dancers are the most special people on the planet. Well, they're also really smart. So, it's awesome when I see the graduation pictures. And yeah. And then when I go, and some of them are now teachers, one is going to be, wants to be a teacher. And she's going to college and she wants to get her teaching certificate. And she wants to be a teacher, not a dance teacher, but a teacher. I just, yeah, they're all success stories because some of them come from some pretty harsh circumstances that children should not have to go through. They don't get the opportunity to be children. They get to come here in a safe place and be a kid. So they're all success stories.
That's such a great way to put it. You know,
Yeah.
having an opportunity makes everyone a success, right?
Yeah.
Wow. So what do you think, if you had an opportunity to talk to those of us who are educators or adjacent to education, parents, activists, or anyone in the community that wants to make sure that our kids, those who are economically disadvantaged, or any kid, has the access, has the opportunity to have experiences like this in the arts when they're young, what would your advice for us be? How do we make sure that these opportunities are available?
Well, I tell you, we talk about all that's going on in the world today, and our communities are falling apart. And our communities really started to fall apart when the arts funding was taken away, when arts was not a part of just general education. I think now everyone's in a panic. It's become part of an initiative, and it was just, we have to have the arts, we have to have SEL, we have to have, and then there aren't any arts teachers. So we need to, I think about that funding also. And because it's not just, I mean, you can expose a kid to the arts, but you want to put it on them. You want them to feel it. You want them to do it. And I think to have high quality arts education, we need to have arts teachers. And I think the art education, we're having arts educators desert here, I think, for sure, in our school system.
You've got a significant problem there, right? Because
Yeah.
we are having a hard enough time keeping teachers and recruiting teachers as it is, any teacher, and what I'm hearing and I'm thinking as you're talking is this it's a cyclical piece that you're identifying here, because we have to have great arts teachers to inspire kids in school to want to become arts teachers, right?
That's
And,
right.
our kids
Because you see, I mean, I know the kids want to be dance teachers when they've been a dancer,
right.
But if you're in school and you never had dance, so then you want to be a dance teacher, some kids in schools might want to be a dance teacher. I always tell kids, I say, well, I need to go to college. And I say, well, you've had 7 or 8 years of ballet training here at Houston Ballet. You can use that and get a scholarship at whatever college, and then change your major or double major or whatever. I mean, you can use that to get you part of your education. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and I think that exposing kids, an art teacher, a rich cadre of art teachers in the school, to take a child and expose them to so many different pieces, types of art that they can experience while they're in school. And like you said, to put it on them, to let them touch it and experience it and feel it, to decide what they love.
Yeah.
Whether it's dance or music or painting or drawing or theater. What is it that you love and you want to continue with? To be able to have those experiences in a safe space, in a place where they can play. That is just, wouldn't that be great?
It's magical.
And then maybe we can grow those great art teachers along the way, right? But oh wow, that's a big ask. It's a big task ahead of us, and something that it's huge for us to work on.
It's part of what our community, I think, needs to work on for sure.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, that's some great advice moving forward to be able to focus on. So Lauren, is there anything that I haven't asked you today that you would like us to know, whether it's about Houston Ballet or Chance to Dance or arts education or anything at all?
Wow, I don't know. We covered a lot. I can't think of anything. I can't think of anything. We've had a good conversation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say, this is just fantastic work. I think that this program is so inspiring. I spent a few days looking through some links and reading about the program and watching a few videos and looking through social media. And I think it's such a gift to the Houston community. And I hope you keep it running for a long time to come.
You should come witness it. You should come here and you should come see a class.
I would love
I
to.
think you'd love it.
I would love to, but and even even to move it beyond this one, this is amazing for kids. But the outreach that you're doing in the community is so great to be able to reach even adults in the community to teach them more about what you're doing and how important it is for all of us to pay more attention to the arts and learn maybe the lessons that we didn't learn when we were younger and the education wasn't there.
That's
So
right.
we can appreciate all of the work and that all of our artists are out there putting in. And learn a little bit about our own culture along the way.
That's right.
But so thank you so much for spending this time with me today and for telling our audience all about your program. I wish you so much luck and please do come back again and talk with us more about your program.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.